Hello, my name is Morgan Purdy and I teach 2nd grade at West Broadway. I'm going to show you a few ways that we use base 10 blocks in 2nd grade and even some ideas for how you could use them in 4th or 5th grade depending on your students. So, first I'm just going to start by introducing you to base 10 blocks. We have cubes and they represent one unit. We have longs, they represent 10 cubes put together, so that's 10. We have a flat, which represents 100, and we have a big cube, which represents 1,000. The first thing that I would do was show the students the blocks and let them explore and compare these. So they would notice that if you stack 10 cubes, and these stack together, if you stack 10 cubes, it equals 1 long. So they would actually be able to, on their map, show that 10 cubes equals 1 long. Then they would explore to find that 10 longs equal 1 cube. So they would know that this is the same as 100 because we have 10 longs and they fit into a flat, which equals 100. Then the big cube is 10 flats stacked together, and they would be able to explore that and show those relationships. So the first way that I used this was just to make sure that students understand base 10 blocks and how to use them. Then I would give them a number. So they would write 28 on their Smart Pass. They would put the 8s in the ones column and the 2 in the tens column. Then they would build the number. So they would have 8 cubes. They would show 8 cubes and 2 longs because we have 2 in the tens place, and these represent tens. 10, 20. So now they have the number 28. Another way to do this would be to introduce hundreds. So students could see that if I add 3 hundreds, my number becomes 328. And they would show the 8 in the ones place, so they would have 8 cubes. They would show 2 in the tens place because we have 2 tens, 2 longs, 10, 20. And they would show 3 flats in the hundreds place. 1, 2, 3, each representing 100, 100, 200, 300. Another way to do this would just be to give the students a set of blocks, and then they would have to sort them and find the number. We do this a lot with the document camera, where I'll put just a collection of base 10 blocks, and then the students can either come up and sort them first, or they're already sorted and they just count them. So that's another way just to build the numbers and help students with place value. This is also a great tool when you're introducing operations such as addition and subtraction. So students can write the problem that you give them, such as 12 plus 23 on their Smart Pass, and they would write it in the correct column. So we have a 2 in the ones place, and a 1 in the tens place, a 3 in the ones place, and a 2 in the tens place. Then they would build the numbers. So I see the number 12. I know 12 is 2 cubes, 2 in the ones place, and 1 long. I also know that 23 is 3 in the ones place, so I'll add 3 cubes, and 2 in the tens place, so I have 2 longs. Then they would add them together. 2 plus 3, and they could count if they needed, is 5, and we have 3 in the tens place, so we know the answer is 35. And then they would see I have 3 longs in the tens place and 5 cubes in the one place, so my answer is 35. That's just one way you could use addition. You can do the same with subtraction. If I had a simple problem, I would put 31 minus 20. How many cubes do I need? 1. And then I don't have any cubes in the second number because the number was 20. I have 3 longs. You could do the same thing with subtraction. Another way that you can use these base 10 blocks are to play games that students can practice addition, subtraction, and also their place value. So one game that you can play is an exchange game where students are trying to get to the hundreds. So they would have a dice and they would roll it, and maybe the first player would roll 4. So they would count out 4 cubes. The next player rolls a 6, and so they would lay out 6 cubes. Then they would have to notice that we can combine all of our cubes to equal 10. When we add them all together, they equal 10, so we can exchange them. We can take them off of our mat and put a 10, one long. They would continue this process until they get to 100. When they have 10 longs, in the tens place, they would know that that equals 100, and they could take these off of their mat and equal 100. The first player to get to 100 wins. We typically play in partners, but if you had students who are struggling, you could have them work with someone who understands the concept, and they could work in teams, and then that's another way that you can have students play. Another game that we like to play is to build structures. So students can take an assortment of base 10 blocks, so I'll start with a flat, and they just build any structure that they would like. So they would use their base 10 blocks to build their structure. They might build houses, they might build schools, whatever they would like. I'm going to put some people on top of my buildings. Sometimes the students will get really creative with this, which is nice. So then they would build their own structure and trade with a partner. So they would switch seats, and their partner would count out how many cubes they used. They used 5 cubes, so they would put a 5 in the ones place. Then they would count out the tens, the longs, 10, 20, 30, 40. So they would put a 4 in the tens place. Then they would count out their hundreds, and they would say 100, 200, 2 in the hundreds place. So now they know their number is 245. Their partner is counting theirs at the same time. Then they write it on their mats and see. Then they switch back and count again. So if this was my structure, my partner would count first, and then I would come and count again and make sure that our numbers match. Another way to do this would be to have students draw their structure as an extra component to this. So they would draw. So this is a great tool that students can use as they are learning place value, as they are practicing operations such as addition, subtraction, and you can even go as far to use it for multiplication and division in 4th and 5th grade. You can also change these games to make them more advanced or less advanced depending on the needs of your student. I hope that you've enjoyed learning about base 10 blocks and that you've gotten some ideas that you can use in your classroom.